Welcome, everybody, to Connect Health Tech and Wellness, the pitch competition that's designed to bring together leading members of the media with some of the most innovative startups within the health tech and wellness space. My name's Jim Glade, and I'm a partner at Publicize, a PR firm for growth. I'm joined today by my colleague, Salome Muriel, who helped organize today's event. So thank you very much, Salome. We're pleased to be joined today by a host of leading journalists who report in the fields of startups, technology, healthcare, and business. And we're equally privileged to host some of very exciting startups offering innovative health tech and wellness solutions as they pitch their ventures in front of these distinguished media judges. We'll also be holding a live Q&A session with the media judges at the end of the event, so startups and attendees can ask specific questions of journalists to get insights about media best practices. Before we begin, I wanted to mention if any startups or attendees out there have any questions regarding PR, please feel free to reach out to me at jim@publicize.co. Now it's time to meet our media judges. So judges, when I call your name, if you could unmute yourself and come on screen real quickly so we could put a name to a bio, that would be great. First up, we have John Coetzee, who is a senior contributor at Forbes, one of the world's leading business news publications. John has a deep knowledge of technology, having managed teams that created software for partners like Intel and Disney. He also built VB Insight, which is the research arm of VentureBeat, one of the top tech publications in the US. Before joining Forbes, John was also a contributor and advisor to publications including Business Insider, Inc. Magazine, and Read Write Web. And he currently hosts multiple podcasts, including Tech First with John Coetzee. John, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. Next up, we have Samantha Stokes. She's an accomplished correspondent who covers investing for Business Insider, a top financial and business news publication in the United States, with a keen interest on the intersection of healthcare and technology. I'm sorry about that. Prior to covering the healthcare and technology space, she helped cover investing at Business Insider. She now covers health tech and technology with a focus on mental health tech companies as well. And also prior to her current role, Samantha was a member of Insider's finance team, as I said, where she covered Wall Street and other elements of the finance industry. She holds a degree from the University of Missouri and completed her education at the prestigious Columbia Journalism School. So thank you very much, Samantha, for being here with us.
Hi, thanks very much for having me. Looking forward to it.
I appreciate it. Next up, we have Natasha Penton, who is a regular contributor to Entrepreneur Magazine, a leading publication covering entrepreneurship and business. She's also the editorial director at Publicize, a digital PR firm, and a freelance reporter based in South America. Her work has appeared in the Times of London, Pioneers Post, and El Espectador and El Tiempo, which are two of Colombia's largest newspapers. So we're really happy to have Natasha with us.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here.
All right. Next up, we have Marion Webb, who is the managing editor of Sightline, the world's most comprehensive provider of real-time R&D intelligence and to the pharmaceutical industry. She is an award-winning business journalist who has also written for publications including the San Diego Union Tribune and the San Diego Business Journal. Her passion for digital health drives her interest in exploring the future of surgery, robotics, wearables, sensors, and other innovative technologies. Marianne, thank you very much for being here with us.
Great to be here. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to host you. Maria Delgado is a contributing writer to Hacker Noon, a leading US media outlet for technology enthusiasts and professionals. Based between Medellin, Colombia, and Miami, Maria is also a contributor to Forbes Centro America, which is a Spanish language version of the popular business publication. And she's also a vice president here at Publicize. So Maria, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And last but not least, Also based in South America, Sofia Caro is a regular contributor to Pulso, which is Colombia's largest digital media outlet, and it's owned by Grupo Santo Domingo, one of the largest media conglomerates in Latin America. And she's also a contributor to Social Geek, which is a leading technology blog in the region. She's an account manager at Publicize, and she graduated with a degree in international business from Concordia University in Canada. Great to have you here with us as well, Sophia.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
All right. Well, again, I just wanted to thank all of the media judges for taking time out of their busy days to be here with us and sharing their valuable insights and feedback for the founders. We'll go ahead and start the pitch competition. Startups, I'll go ahead and bring you on screen, and you'll be able to share your screen if you'd like. And I will be timing you. We'll give you 2 minutes, and then we'll open up for questions and comments from the media judges. Media judges, if I could remind you as well, if you could please score in real time so we're able to announce a winner right at the end of the event. So first we'll bring up Ellen with Well Theory. Ellen, give me 1 second. I'll make you the co-host.
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
It's
I'm
a
going to go
pleasure.
ahead and share my screen, and you can see that. Okay, I'll jump in.
Yeah, and whenever you're ready, we're ready to go.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Ellen Rudolph, founder and CEO of Well Theory. Building Well Theory is deeply personal to me because it all started out with my own health journey. A few years ago, I navigated a chronic health mystery that left me bedridden at the age of 25. I went to doctor after doctor and got no answers. Eventually, I learned that what I was dealing with was autoimmune in nature, and it wasn't until I completely overhauled my diet and lifestyle that I was able to reclaim my health. I shared my health story on TikTok, and it went viral, reaching over 18 million video views and cultivating a community of 70,000 followers who are navigating their own autoimmune journeys alongside me. It's become clear that there are so many people who have had similar experiences, and the data backs this up. There are an estimated 50 million Americans suffering from autoimmune conditions, and the rates are quickly rising. Autoimmune disease is truly a women's health crisis. Approximately 80% of patients suffering from autoimmune disease are women, with certain conditions being 16 times more common in women. Unfortunately, the way we handle autoimmune disease today isn't working. It takes 5 doctors on average over the course of 4.5 years to even get a diagnosis, with 45% of patients being labeled as chronic complainers on that journey. As for treatments, pharmaceutical biologics are the standard of care for many conditions and can be ineffective and produce unwanted side effects. Not to mention, the sheer cost of these high-cost specialty medications is quite staggering. It can cost almost $80,000 annually for a single individual who is on a drug like Humira. At Well Theory, we're building a first-of-its-kind virtual platform for autoimmune disease. We offer evidence-based nutrition and lifestyle coaching through our unique membership model that addresses the root cause of autoimmunity and treats the whole person. And it's working. Our members have shared that we're filling a void that they haven't been able to find in their healthcare journey to date. They're finally getting their lives back and feeling better. And now we're bringing these proven outcomes and cost savings to employers and payers to drive greater access and affordability. At Well Theory, our mission is to make the invisible visible and provide better solutions to a population that has been underserved and overlooked for far too long. And we're just getting started. Thank you.
All right, great presentation, Ellen, and under time too. So thank you very much. It's not easy to go first, but you did great. So thank you so much. We'll go ahead and we'll open up for any questions or initial feedback from the media panel. If anybody would like to start off, please, let's dive in.
Hi, great presentation. Can you talk a little bit about your business model, please?
Yeah, so we, as I said, we offer a membership-based offering. So we've launched direct to consumer. And so there's just a monthly membership fee to be part of Well Theory. Again, as I said before, at our core, we offer evidence-based nutritional and lifestyle coaching. So we have our one-on-one coaching offering right now, which is $125 a month. Right now, it's solely paid out of pocket. But as I mentioned before, really the goal is to get the care that we're delivering covered by insurance. So that's really sort of the long term.
Great, thanks.
Did I hear that correctly? 125 a month?
Yep.
So that's obviously super cheap compared to the cost of healthcare in the US. If you're actually going to go to doctors and you're paying out of pocket and everything, it's also super expensive from the point of view of I'm assuming mobile app subscription, maybe a website subscription. Talk a little bit about how that price point, how you arrived at that price point.
Yeah, maybe it might be helpful I'll just pull up another slide to talk really briefly about what the actual membership experience looks like. Since I know 2 minutes is not really enough time to dig into that. But I think it helps speak to where sort of that price point originated from. So all of our members start out with an initial health baseline where we do a broader health history that includes a nutritional assessment to identify what their biggest areas of need are in their autoimmune journey. They actually do a 60-minute onboarding session as part of that. So we're investing a significant amount of time up front to understand, right, them as a whole person. And then from there, really at the core of the offering is these twice a month live coaching calls with their care team, which includes a registered dietitian, certified nutritionist, and board certified health coach. So they sort of alternate with those different care team members during those sessions. And so they have those live sessions twice a month, and then they also get access to unlimited messaging. There's a number of other membership perks that are part of that as well. So anything from product discounts to community events with others who share similar diagnoses. And so for us, I think there's sort of functional medicine, which is really, I would say what our model is inspired by, which is super inaccessible today. It can cost thousands of dollars for a single appointment. And our goal is really to take the best tenets of that and figure out how to make it more accessible to sort of bring that to the masses. But again, I think we're trying to figure out how do we, I think an employer or payer would much rather pay for, something that's $125 a month versus a drug that costs $80,000 a year, right? In terms of some of the outcomes that we've been able to demonstrate around reduced reliance on some of these high cost specialty medications.
Why does the traditional medical system totally suck at identifying these disorders and treating them?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's in large part, as I said, due to this, underserved population that I mentioned. It mostly affects women and minorities. And so it's kind of hard for me to overlook that. As I mentioned, 45% of us are told that it's all in our head in that journey. I think some of it is definitely the diagnostic piece, but also I think these are really just not well understood conditions. And I think our belief is that healing really happens in between the doctor's visits. And so we actually see ourselves as coming alongside someone's physician. We're not trying to replace the other care that we're getting. We know most of our members have multiple members of their care team, but it's really about coming alongside them and providing that support in between, because we know 80% of our health is driven by the food we put in our mouth, our relationships, how we're able to manage stress, all of these things that, knowing is not doing, right? And so that's really our superpower, which is this nutrition expertise and then also behavior change focus as well. So actually helping people to implement these changes in their day-to-day.
I have two questions as well. Just firstly, you said women and minorities are the underserved group. Are they currently the majority of your customers? And then I also wonder, how are your customers currently finding you and your solution?
Yeah, those are great questions. So 96%, I think it's either 96 or 97% of our membership is women. So we're largely attracting women specifically across a broad variety of different diagnoses. We've served over 24 different diagnoses to date. There are over 100 different autoimmune conditions that are known, at least today. And then in terms of how people are finding us, I mentioned my TikTok presence. Social media has been a big one for us. I think it's really about meeting our member where she's at, and she's on TikTok and social media and finding health information there. So that's one channel. And then I would say the other one for us is we have an evidence-based blog where we write and produce content about autoimmune disease. And so a lot of it is I would say both TikTok MD and then also Google MD, which is, again, where people are seeking out their health information to date. So those have been two of our big channels.
I have a question. So on this first step, you mentioned that you choose whether someone is eligible or not. How do you how do you come to terms into deciding whether someone can have access to the platform or they can't?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it looks a little bit different based on the audience, like direct to consumer versus more B2B. But on the direct to consumer side right now, if you go to our website, we have an eligibility quiz. We found that was one of the biggest questions our members had. Everyone has their own unique, autoimmune situation. And so it's more of a qualitative questionnaire and survey where they can outline, if they have a diagnosis, what that might be, and or symptoms they might be experiencing that tend to be suggestive of an autoimmune condition. And so we've also serviced individuals who don't have a diagnosis. As I said, there's sort of that long circuitous journey that takes over 4.5 years. So someone just might be on that autoimmune spectrum. And so it's really determined based on that. And then, as I said, it looks a little bit different if we're partnering with a B2B partner.
All right, Ellen Rudolph, CEO of Well Theory. Great presentation, and thank you so much, Ellen, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sure thing. All right, we'll bring on our next founder. We have Rima from Kintsugi. Rima, give me a second and I'll pass you the presenter role.
Thank you.
All righty, Rima, you should be able to share your screen whenever you're ready.
It does look possible for me to do so.
All right, and I can see your screen now.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Rima Silova Olson. I'm the co-founder and chief scientist at Kintsugi. At Kintsugi, we've created a voice biomarker technology that can detect signs of depression and anxiety from short clips of free-form speech. Yes, we are the first quantifiable measure that can detect mental health distress, not only detect, but to quantify the severity level of the condition. Unlike any other area of healthcare, mental health has always been driven by subjective judgment of the doctors. Assessments were based on the self-reflection and self-assessment of the patients, and we're changing it. We're bringing in a quantifiable biomarker that is on the FDA software as a medical device pathway to change the mental health industry so that there's less subjectivity, so that it's less of an art, but more of a science. So we can move this area of science forward. The way our API is integrated into the workflows of our healthcare partners is that clinicians can be interacting with the patient during a call center conversation or a virtual health visit. And while the conversation is going on, our API can receive the samples of voice and return the results, whether the patient has high likelihood of having depression or anxiety real time. So the clinician can take action right then and there, based only on the voice of the patient. And the clinician can decide to administer other tools to improve the triage and connect this person to the appropriate level of care. Why would the clinician be interested in doing this? Well, because early identification and prevention of mental health conditions prevent overutilization of expensive healthcare services. 60% of overutilizers of ER services have some component of undiagnosed mental health conditions. Comorbid depression with any other chronic condition increases the cost of care for that condition by 5x. If the person has diabetes, if the cost for that is X, if the person has diabetes and depression, the healthcare is going to incur 5 times the cost. Currently, without our technology, generalists, internal medicine specialists, and primary care doctors only pick up 47.3% of patients who need care for depression. And we double that accuracy.
10 seconds.
And we have some results from our pilot with one of the largest healthcare institutions in the country. Out of 700 patients, they marked 17 as having depression, whereas our technology marked 85 of them of having severe depression, 196 of them of being at risk of depression. That's how we're helping healthcare organizations identify these patients early and connect them to appropriate level of care. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rima. Great presentation and congratulations on everything that you've built so far. We'll go ahead and we'll open up for questions from the media panel. Maria, maybe if you want to start.
Yes. First of all, great presentation. I just wanted to ask, given the current, state with the layoffs, the multiple layoffs that we've had, and the financial uncertainty, I was just wondering, have you seen an increase in the amount of patients that you're treating? And if so, are you able to treat them all? I'm just wondering, what's the volume like?
Yes, definitely. First, it was COVID, right? Our company was born right before the pandemic, and we had COVID pandemic increase the rate of mental health prevalence among our population. And then we have these current layoffs. The way we integrate into the workflows of healthcare organizations is by inserting ourselves into various programs. For example, the pilot deck I was sharing is for maternal health. These are women who are going through their maternity journey, and by checking in on them on a regular basis, health insurance companies can improve their outcomes by lowering the rates of C-section, lowering the rates of hypertension and preeclampsia and gestational diabetes. And we inputted our technology into that call, so those calls concentrate more about how the future mom is feeling instead of interrogating them about how they've been sleeping or eating, and all of those energy level questions that combined help detect the depression. So what we've been seeing is that burnout is one of those big conditions that are being comorbid with depression. And there's a lot of interest among employers and health insurance companies to address this condition. Burnout, first we saw among healthcare employees, nurses and doctors during the pandemic, but now it seems to be an issue across all of the industries, including tech.
Thank you, Maria, for the question. We'll go Samantha, Natasha, and then John.
Hi, Rima. Thanks very much for this. Something that I'm really curious about is that I do feel like I hear it's even just out in the general zeitgeist that, doctors maybe very slowly, but are getting a little bit better at identifying and treating, mental health issues. So I'm curious how that factors into your business model. If, you do have the traditional medical community, maybe very slowly, but, continuing to get better and better and better. How do you continue to be a value add when, the traditional medical community, maybe I'm being hopeful, but is catching up?
Samantha, I'm sad to say that you are being hopeful, unfortunately. As a patient with depression and anxiety myself, I've been through postpartum depression. Actually, that was the reason for myself to work on this problem. The reason why mental health is not addressed at the generalist's office is that they don't get appropriate level of training in the men's school to feel comfortable discussing the mental health component of their patient's health. They are very well equipped to address anything related to their physical health, but diagnosing and treating for mental health conditions is something that the PCPs still feel very skittish about, because they're still putting their name on the diagnosis, and that they don't feel that they have the appropriate level of training to diagnose patients with depression. And there are various audits, a round of audits from CMS that can come back and look at the basis for certain diagnoses, right? So if I'm a PCP and I'm trying to diagnose the patient with hypertension, well, I have the blood pressure monitor, I have blood biomarkers for diabetes, right? There are a lot of different quantifiable tools that can help me arrive at that decision. But if I'm trying to diagnose the patient with a psychiatric condition, then there's absolutely no tool. There's no fMRI, there's no ultrasound, there's no blood biomarker or EEG that can help me make that decision. So I really don't have any tool in my arsenal to diagnose with this condition. And we're creating that first tool in their arsenal so they can start relying on something else rather than their subjective feelings, because subjective opinions are always prone to bias. And I can bring some numbers that show discrepancies of those services across various ages and genders and racial backgrounds. But we are trying to create that first tool that can help them be a little bit more confident when they make these calls about psychiatric conditions.
All right.
Thank you so much for your, it was me next, Jim, right?
Yep, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It was super clear. I have two questions, if it's okay. The first one is, there must be some kind of chance of misdiagnosis as well, because, for example, OCD is sometimes misdiagnosed for general anxiety disorder and things like that. And I wondered how you keep track of that, or when someone, because you spoke specifically about depression and anxiety, but I'm wondering how you go into those kind of subcategories of anxiety as well.
Exactly.
First
right?
question.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. And these conditions can be comorbid and confused, not just by neural network models like our technology, but by psychiatrists themselves. And in our submission to the FDA, what we do is we have patients with a variety of those comorbid conditions. We have patients with ADHD and depression, and we have patients with depression alone. We have patients who are 65 and over who have dementia and anxiety, and patients who have only anxiety or only dementia. So that's how we, in a clinical study, separated out for the FDA to demonstrate that regardless of any other conditions that the person might have that affect their vocal articulators, we can still separate out the signal for depression. And that's exactly what we also do for emotion. If a person is early in the morning on a Sunday morning, on a sunny day, they might sound very different than on a rainy day, Friday, when they're at the end of their long week, right? So we control for all of those factors and make sure that our biomarkers and features of the voice that we pick up as being indicative of depression cut through all of that noise and still find the signal for depression. And I can talk a little bit more about the science if we have some time.
Okay, great, thank you. And then the other one was more a cybersecurity question. I wonder how you go about protecting the personal data kind of related to these sensitive mental health topics.
That's a great question. And that was the reason why we've decided to only analyze how a person is speaking and not what they're saying. That has three benefits. When we talk about how the person is speaking and what they're saying, then we have a large bulky neural network model. By separating it out and disregarding what they're saying and only concentrating on how they're saying, first of all, we're ignoring what the semantic meaning of what they're saying. That can include PII, their address. People can inadvertently share any personal information in their speech samples. So we entirely disregard that part. And all we care about is how the person is speaking. Are they speaking fast? Do their fundamental frequency have the variation that is characteristic of a healthy person's voice? Are they pronouncing certain phonemes, certain sounds in the English language properly or not properly, so that it's indicating that the certain muscles in their vocal articulators are not contracting as well as in a healthy person? So all we care about is how they're saying. So we don't know what they're saying. We don't care about the content of what they're saying. That allows our models to be smaller and be able to return results in real time to clinicians when they're serving the patients right then and there at the point of care. And the other thing is our technology is more language agnostic than other technologies that rely on the content of the speech. I can't say it's 100% language agnostic, but it is more effective in languages that share a lot of overlap of sounds with the English language. And if we were to expand globally, which we're thinking about Japan and Singapore, we will need to fine-tune our models to fit those languages. And in terms of our infrastructure, we're fully SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, HIPAA compliant system that signs the BAA with our customers. And make sure that we have all the appropriate guardrails to protect patients' information.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Natasha. John, we do have time if you wanted quick question. And I think sharing your feedback as well that you put in the chat would be great.
Sure. Thank you for sharing, Rima. Really appreciate it. I shared in chat between panelists the Carl Rogers quote, "What is most personal is most general." You really came alive when you told your personal story. And I would suggest, if comfortable, leading with that in the future, potentially. But thank you for sharing. And it's really, really good. Question I had was, when the audio sample is collected, do people know it's being collected and they know what purpose it's being collected for?
Yes, exactly. Consent is really important. And we modify the language in the consent in different settings so they understand what's happening with their data. Because just like a blood sample, voice is a sample that can have information about their health. Just like blood samples need to be collected in a certain manner, our audio also needs to be collected in a certain manner. So we need to, and it's required to inform them about, okay, we're about to record your voice, not just for improving quality assurance and quality of our customer service, but to evaluate you for mental health conditions. Because just like with any other biomarker or specimen, we need to make sure the quality is good. For example, if a phlebotomist is collecting blood samples, they make sure that several patients' blood samples are not mixed. So we make sure there's no background noise, right? That's exactly, if two people are speaking in the speech sample, that's like contaminated blood sample, right? Contaminated voice sample. If there's a lot of background noise, if there's not enough of the speech sample, right? Just like phlebotomists need enough blood to run tests, we need certain 15 to 20 seconds of voice to be able to render accurate predictions. So we do make sure that the patients are aware, because we want to get their consent. And the second purpose of that is to ensure the appropriate quality of the sample.
Thank you, Rima. Really fascinating what you're building. I know we have a ton of questions for you, Rima. And maybe Marian, if you wouldn't mind putting that one in the chat as well. I just want to be very careful on time, because I know some of the media panel have to hop off at the top of the hour. But Rima, great presentation and really fascinating again what you're building. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'll be happy to answer any questions in the chat.
Okay,
I can
awesome.
talk about it day and night. I've been working on this for 4 years, and it's the passion of my life. So questions are welcome.
Okay, fantastic. No, thank you. And Marian, apologies again, but we'll get that question answered for sure in the chat. All right, well, we'll go ahead and we'll bring on our next presenter. We have Jose Martin Quesada, who's the co-founder of Crew. Jose, give me 1 second and I will let you share your screen. All righty. You should be able to share your screen now, sir.
Yeah. Hi, folks. Hi, everyone. My name is Jose, the CEO and founder of Crew. I used to launch consumer products at Google and McKinsey, but the important thing to know about me is I've actually been in really poor health. I've been in a coma from a car crash. My lungs have collapsed 6 times for unrelated reasons. I have IBS, you name it. And I ended up going from being in that poor health to competing in things like CrossFit. And when I thought, how did I transform? How did my life change around so much? It came down to 2 factors that the peer-reviewed research told us, actually, these are the factors that work best for everyone. And those are community and healthy competition. We had the perfect technology to deliver a product that ruthlessly optimized for those 2 things, thanks to my co-founder's PhD research. And the urgency for this is because people are not getting healthier, at least they're not working out more. People are working out roughly as much as 20 years ago. In fact, boys are working out less, adults roughly the same. And this leads not just to physical illness, but also to mental health illness, as you can imagine. And, this is something that is very close to me because I've had to struggle with a lot of that. So we wanted a product that was accessible by default, massively accessible, and not in a diminished form, but in a premium form. Essentially, we use your video to give you feedback anytime, anywhere, in real time, whether it's shared or solo. You share it with friends in real time. It's immersive through a combination of augmented reality and artificial intelligence. And it's powered by user-generated content also at the end. So when you finish a workout, you get the best moments of your workout. This is because the time for video is now. As someone said earlier, like people live on TikTok and they've become used to video being the way that they consume content. But also we now have a technology of artificial intelligence on the edge that allows us to process all of these things in real time in your device without the need for any sensors. To give you a taste of what it looks like, this is the video highlights at the end of a class. This is to create both direct and indirect social triggers to get you to work out and to make you successful from moment zero, the moment that you finish. And this is an example of how accuracy works. Hopefully you can see it, and it's not behind the videos. It's not only diagnostic, it tells you what you're doing wrong. It's also prescriptive. It tells you what you should be doing instead in a very visually easy to understand way. People use this either as a standalone thing, just to substitute the coaching that they would get otherwise, maybe when you're traveling, when you're on the beach, or they use it as simply as a complement. You might even use it at the gym. I know we have to finish, so just to finish with, we try to charge for experiences, not for content, which means a lot of the product is accessible by default for free, so you get access to all of these premium features. And then we charge when you want to make your experience even better. For example, by unlocking avatars that you can use instead of showing your body or your face, by unlocking special challenges and content, by unlocking special types of video highlights, such that we can create a positive reinforcement circle where you finish your workout, you feel great because we're celebrating you on the spot, but also you can share that with the world where you're going to feel even more celebrated. And that's it.
Awesome, Jose. Great presentation. And yeah, thanks for that. We'll go ahead and open up for questions from the panel.
There are approximately 5 billion apps that have been launched in the past 3 years for health and fitness and working out and everything like that. How on earth are you going to break through all that noise?
We know that we're not going to win by being louder than other people. We're going to win by having our users do the speaking for us. And this is the user-generated content that we create at the end of each workout. The feature was launched 6 weeks ago, and just in beta, video highlights have been shared and then viewed 1.5 million times with zero marketing. If anything, we had to stop posting on social media because people want to show themselves at their best. You want to show yourself when you're at your peak. So we're giving you quote unquote permission to show yourself at your best. Mind you, we only need to break through so that you actually start working out. The real challenge afterwards is keeping you after you've shown up in the first place. So this is why the vast majority of the work that we do is geared towards that retention. And may I also say something very not humble. If we were talking about immunotherapy for cancer, people wouldn't question, there's 1 million startups doing immunotherapy because the problem is still not solved, right? But the problem with fitness is still not solved. And yet, because people tend to understand fitness, it's easy to sort of like brush it aside as just another fitness app. But we're targeting the things that we know actually work to get people to show up in the first place and then stick through with it.
Great, Jose. I think we have a question from Marion, and then we'll go with Maria. Marion, if you wanted to go ahead.
No, actually, that question in the chat was for the previous presenter.
Oh, my apologies. My apologies. Okay. We'll go ahead with Maria then.
Right. So you did mention something about building a community, and I just wanted you to dive a little bit deeper into what that means, and if you perhaps have any results that you can share about how you're expanding, because it is how you can amplify, what your app is providing.
Yeah, community is a very overused word, but specifically what it means for us is people work out for longer and more often when you work out with other people. When you pair that with introducing a system based on a system of incentives based on healthy competition, people work out 90% more often at the end of the year versus a control group. So if you have a control group where there's no incentives at all, people work out whatever. If you introduce a set of incentives based on friendly support, people do work out more often, but the effect doesn't last very long. It lasts for a few months. When you introduce a system based on healthy competition, that's when the magic happens. So community happen for us means direct social triggers. Someone invites you to work out with them, literally. So the way that you like experience the product is because you're learning a dance in parallel to them, because you're taking a yoga class with them, which, by the way, a question we get often is, what about after the pandemic? Do people use it this way? This category was growing even before the pandemic, but B, we have, most people actually don't use it remotely. They are co-located physically and they're just learning the dance at the same time. They just want to get their feedback individualized and get their video highlight afterwards. So that's an example of community, that direct social trigger. But then the most powerful, or at least the more pervasive system is indirect social triggers, which is essentially seeing your friends working out on social media, seeing their results, seeing that they're making progress, seeing them look amazing. And this inspires you to also work out more. That's the way that we're seeing community coalesce, and we're seeing that, for example, with retention levels that even while still freshly coming out of beta, are already twice as good as the industry average, and with retention curves that are flat the moment after the first week. So people are just loving the product.
Thank you.
Very cool, Jose. Sophia, I see your hand raised if you want to go.
Yes, Jose, I have a question. Are you available worldwide, or is the app just starting in a certain specific location?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. The content is in English, so naturally, both where we've been doing marketing and just because the content UK and US are the primary markets. But yeah, it's everywhere. In fact, we've seen a lot of usage from the Middle East, partly because some influencers picked us up organically. We haven't paid for any marketing, and they started talking about us as a tool to learn dances. Crucially, you don't have to only use our content to use the product. Of course, you can use the content that we provide, but we have a tool which we call self-hosting, where if you see content that you already like, for example, a TikTok dance that you want to learn, you can just paste the URL into our product, and all of the tools that assess you in real time for effort, for accuracy, inviting your friends to compete against them, the video highlights afterwards, all of those things are available on the spot. It just creates a workout on the spot. And this is legal to do, by the way. We can use that.
Thank you.
Natasha, and then John. We'll wrap it up with John.
I wondered also if there are any limits on how much you can work out, or kind of is there any way you guys are picking up on unhealthy habits as well? Because I really love this community idea and getting people to post on their social media and things like that. But at the same time, could it also, encourage other kind of eating disorders, some other mental health conditions? So I'm just wondering, like, are there any regulations on it, or kind of a way for you to pick up on these unhealthier habits?
Yeah, so there are the people who already work out and they're already convinced about working out, right? These people, the best you can hope is that you become their main substitutes, right? So people who go to the gym, for example, 2.1 times per week in the UK, might use those 2.1 times or more. However, we know that the main problem with a product like ours is that you simply fall out of top of mind for other people. So for that, in that case, the most important thing for us is we had to create consumption moments during the day that you created a positive reinforcement circle, whereby you are not only working out, but you're also getting feedback on that workout and positive reinforcement from the beginning, which gets you coming back for more. The main problem with where mental health comes into play with people who have actually started their fitness journey is the fact that they don't see progress soon enough. So they lose motivation, when you're at a very delicate moment of your life. So the way that we tackle that is you are already being celebrated from the first moment with this video highlights of your best moments. And this is something that, if I'm quite blunt, essentially also provides you content that you can scroll through when you're sitting on the toilet, such that we don't have to keep reacquiring you because you only use us when you are working out every second day for 30 minutes, but rather you're just like, scrolling through what your friends are up to. And it creates this environment where an activity that for a lot of people was isolationist by default, fitness for a lot of people is a single player experience. We're now introducing a social element to it, both indirect and direct, like I said. So it's essentially creating another social moment in your day for people that were, in the most part, not perhaps finding digital first experiences fairly isolating.
All right. Thank you, Natasha. We'll end with John.
You have a massive viral opportunity that has fallen into your lap, or that you've created, and you just mentioned it in the last second of what you were talking about, and that is learn that TikTok dance. I would release that as a separate app. I would do that ad supported, brought to you by crew.live, maybe put your own ads in there from time to time. I could see that becoming a viral sensation. And then I would keep the business model that you've got on the other side, maybe the functionality as well. Anyways, random
I agree.
thought, but
I 100% agree. In fact, we often talk about ourselves as dance and fitness rather than fitness and dance, because dance is the Trojan horse. It's the thing that you don't force yourself to do because it's a chore, but rather the thing that you enjoy doing. And then from there, it's a lot easier to sell you horizontally on, because you like dance, why don't you try yoga and Pilates, than it is the other way around, right? Where we have to convince you to work out in the first place.
and I think you should really explore that, because literally I get pitched daily on some fitness person, some influencer, some former sports star, somebody, and they put together their plan. And you know what? Yours may be completely differentiated and 10x better, but it's almost impossible to see that from the outside and from a pitch. So finding a way to grow and a way to get in, kind of under all that and through all that would be pretty significant, in my opinion.
Agree, 100%.
Right, Jose. Well, congratulations. And it's a beautiful app that you've built, by the way. I wanted to say, like, the user experience, the visuals, really awesome. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. We're rounding the corner, folks, for the last two presenters. Really quick PSA for our judges, if you could remember to keep scoring in real time so we can announce a winner at the end. We'll go ahead and bring up Martin Becerra, co-founder and CEO of Puramente. Martin, give me 1 second and I will give you the presenter role. Where are you, Martin? There we go. Okay, you should be able to share your screen now, Martin.
Okay, hello everyone. I would like you guys to pause for a few.
Yeah, 1 sec, Martin. I just want to make sure that the video loads, because we don't see it yet, or at least I don't see it. Everybody else, can anybody else see his video?
No, I can't see it yet.
Okay.
Let me. No.
There we go. Now we can see the presentation. Yeah. So whenever you're ready, Martin, just go ahead and start, and I'll start the timer.
Thanks. Well, hello. I would like everyone to pause for a few seconds and just take one very deep breath right now. Well, we need that breath because we are dealing with an epidemic. The stress at work is affecting everyone. The mental health conditions are affecting 1 in 8 people in the world. 30% of the adults are experiencing insomnia on a regular basis. So we see everything. The good news is that scientific research have confirmed that mindfulness and meditation are very effective tools for dealing with those problems and improving the well-being overall. So Puramente is a meditation app for the Hispanic world. We became the best rated app in the category, more than 2 million downloads so far. And the thing is that we found two particular challenges with the meditation habit. The first one is that the journey can be uncertain. Sometimes we don't even know whether we are practicing it right or not, even if we are advanced. And second, it's easy to feel loneliness during the learning process. So people love Puramente because it's an app that feels personal and close. They have access to top quality meditation training that is cultural tailored, and people can attend to live sessions, interact with the community, which is very important. All is included in a freemium service for $40 a year. Right now, we are the most downloaded meditation app in the Hispanic countries, surpassing all the main competitors combined. And we are targeting an estimated market of $7.5 billion. It includes 340 million people and a remarkable increase in awareness about this topic. So we believe that the moment for living in more peace and harmony is now. Thank you.
All right, Martin, thank you very much. That was a very soothing presentation as well. I feel calmer after hearing it already. So thank you. Maria, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Yes, just mirror what Jim said. Thank you for that intro. So you mentioned that you would like to expand to the US, but where are you active as of now?
Where I am now? I
No,
am
like
living in
where's the app? I'm sorry,
Oh.
where's the app active now?
Where is the app available now?
Oh, well, it's worldwide. Yeah, we have the user distributed across all the countries that have a population in Spanish. The main countries are Mexico, US, Colombia, Argentina, Spain. It's quite broad. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Samantha?
Hi, thanks very much for this. I love the breath at the beginning. I think it really set the tone for the pitch, and I like that a lot.
Thanks.
The slide where it mentions that you all are growing faster in terms of downloads compared to Calm, Headspace, and some of the other kind of larger, more established players in the space. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about why that might be and what your competitive edge is. I mean, I understand, catering specifically for a community probably has a competitive advantage, but what brings your users to your app as opposed to saying, well, Common Headspace is already out there and that maybe could work for me too?
Yeah, thanks, Samantha. It turns out that it's, I would say that it's a combination of many factors. The strong vision that we have that serving a specific cultural type of people, it's super important for this. So it's like a snowball that it's getting stronger over the time, right? Then we are doing good marketing campaigns on social media that is working really well for us. And yeah, the community elements that we are introducing in the app, like we are the only service that has live sessions, 3 or 4 live sessions a week. So the users that maybe don't get the discipline for doing for themselves can join a group and nurture their motivation from other people. So a little bit of everything is contributing to this growth.
Very cool
John.
stuff. Thank you. And thank you again for starting. It takes balls to start by not saying anything. So that was good. It was really good. I loved it. It is really interesting. A friend of mine is Ariel from App Figures, which is, they do mobile analytics and stuff like that. And he recently released something that was super interesting. Calm and Headspace, they stopped spending on user acquisition in 2022 to focus on, and their downloads dropped about 20% or so, but they focused on monetization. So they've grown their monetization in the category. So they're doing very well there. What's your kind of mix between spend on user acquisition and then your retention curve and monetization focus?
We spend on user acquisition when it's the unit economics works. I think that many of the big players were investing in hyper growth without taking that in mind. So we wouldn't do that. And I think that there is a main challenge in this kind of service, which is retention. This is where we really focus on creating an ecosystem where the users want to live and be supported over the years, right? I think that they made the right decisions, and they also allowed us to be more relevant in this market.
And I really like your focusing on a target market. I think that is a differentiator. And I think there's also probably specific issues for your target market that you can address better than a general everybody app. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Thanks.
Marian, please go ahead.
Thank you. Great presentation. And like everyone else, I really enjoyed that deep breath at the beginning of the presentation. I wanted to ask you, I don't know that much about the space, but so obviously your biggest competitors, do they only provide the app in the English language? And I'm really wondering if that's kind of that cultural sensitivity and also having that language that, you know, is your first language. Do you think that that would be set you apart from other app providers if you know, and someone who provides an app in different types of languages to kind of cater to that culture and the cultural sensitivities?
Yeah, thanks, Marian. It's a great question. Well, the bigger the big players like Headspace or Calm are already they already have versions in different languages. And the numbers that I shared were from their usage in Spanish countries. I would say that from translations of the content, they can kind of reach to a good content maybe, but the level of quality that we can achieve by really going deep in even creating content for the different cultural differentiation between countries, it's something beyond a global organization and a global organization that is targeting different languages and cultures can do. So, and as Sean mentioned, there are also problems and issues that we can address only by focusing on a specific set of countries or of locations.
And if I may ask, I think you're pretty competitively priced. It's $40 a year, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. The other question I have, I am familiar with Calm, so I'm curious about the interactive sessions that you mentioned. How does that work in your app, where people can actually interact with each other?
Yeah, there are a few. There are live sessions, so a few times a week. Users can join a Zoom where they can do and practice a meditation and then interact and ask questions. There are a kind of forum in the app, embedded in the app, so there the users can comment, present themselves, ask questions, and interact more freely. There are also a functionality for creating a group and which involves some kind of gamification in the group. So that's interesting. As the previous startup also mentioned, the power of the group for nurturing habits. Here is the same, and so that's also available.
Does that set you apart from your competitors, these types of sessions?
Yeah, totally. As I mentioned, there are different kind of users. There is the user who is really looking for doing it for themselves, but there is a very big segment of users who really need that support. So that's important.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marian. Hey, I have to be really close on time. We have time for one quick question from Sophia. Natasha, if you want to answer or ask a question, please do so in the chat. My apologies.
Martin, thanks for the presentation. More than a question itself, it's just basically telling you that when you were going through the presentation, I like to meditate. So I asked myself, like, why would I choose Puramente instead of another meditation app? And then throughout the questions, you said cultural differences. So just as a point of constructive, positive feedback for the future, make sure you also state that in your speech, because I feel like just Spanish language, I speak Spanish, I speak English, but for me, one of the things that would catch or be very catchy for me would be that, like, how is that getting to me more than someone else, rather than just going more than just the language. So thank you.
Great, thanks for the feedback.
All right, great feedback, Sophia. Martin, congratulations and a great pitch as well. Thank you for bringing us all down and making us more zen. All right, cheers, sir. We have our last startup, and she might have the coolest name on the bill today. We have Fitzalan Crow from Super Sapiens. We'll go ahead and bring her on. And apologies if I'm butchering that too.
It's Fitzalan, but my
Fitzalan.
entire life is designed around correcting my name, so no worries.
Thank you, Fitzalan. And it's still way cool, even if it's pronounced like that.
Thanks.
All right, you should be able to share your screen whenever you're ready.
Perfect.
And real quick before we begin, I just wanted to mention, judges, please make sure when Fitzalan is done that we wrap up the scorecard as well, so we can announce the winner. So thank you.
Perfect. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we could see it. You're not in presenter mode, just as a heads up, and but now you are. Okay, cool.
Okay,
so
great.
whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer.
Perfect. So I'm one of the co-founders behind Super Sapiens, and we are a next generation insights platform empowering athletes with metabolic visibility. So quick origin story around this. Our CEO, Phil Sutherland, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was only 7 months old. He was one of the youngest diagnosed cases in the world at the time. He went on to be a professional athlete and now owns a professional sports team where all the athletes have type 1 diabetes. It was through his obsession with glucose and this team that we started to realize glucose matters for all, not just for the diabetes world. So the reason for that is glucose is always on. It affects everything we do, and everything we do affects your glucose. So it impacts how you feel, how we think, how we perform, how you sleep, decision-making, all of that. But up till now, we didn't understand the true impact that it had on performance, both mentally and physically. So in Super Sapiens, so our ecosystem is based on Abbott's technology. They're the global leader around glucose sensing. And we built the company knowing that for anything to be optimized, it first has to be analyzed. And so we are using continuous glucose monitoring combined with our ecosystem to allow users to optimize their nutrition when it comes to training, competition, sleep, travel, recovery, etc. So quick ecosystem, we are the Abbott Libre Sense is the biosensor. We have our data dashboard. It's a web-based system where you could start to overlay other metrics with glucose. We have many integrations. We're with Garmin, Wahoo, Training Peaks, Apple Health. We have a few exciting ones coming this quarter. And then also inside the app, there's guidance to optimize sleep and nutrition and exercise based on your individual data. We work with the best. We launched not even 4 years ago. We have already been part of Eliud Kipchoge's marathon world record, multiple Ironman records, several gold medalists. There's a Netflix documentary coming out this week around golf that you'll see us on some of those players. So it's been phenomenally cool, if I'm honest, what we've gotten to work with. When you look to us, how our go-to-market strategy, we're B2B when it comes to teams, federations, pro organizations, and also high-level companies that are really interested in what they're calling their corporate athlete, those decision makers. Then we also have the DDC, where we focus on the individual data-obsessed athlete. We have a global exclusive distribution around the Abbott Libre Sense. This is the only sensor in the world that's designed for people without diabetes. It also has minute-by-minute data, and it's got a Bluetooth push, so you don't have to scan your sensor. Additionally, Abbott is not just a partner of ours, they're one of the main investors behind the company. Quick overview of the team. We work with the best, and so we aim to internally only have the best. And glucose in sports, we believe we're the global leading expert. And we have an in-house team of science experts where we really focus on research and publications. Prior to us launching, the data showed that glucose would be level for someone without diabetes. And we now have the research to show that's not true. And we put a lot of effort into building out that we're rewriting the textbooks essentially around how you can use glucose as a metric. And that's it.
All right, Fitzalan, congratulations and thanks for going last. It's not easy to go last either, but you did a great job.
Thank you.
Samantha, we'll start off with you.
Hi. Yeah, thanks so much for this. I thought this was really interesting. One question that I do have is, as you're kind of starting, I understand like the data obsessed athlete. On the other hand, it's a lot different from wearing, or it's at least a little bit different from throwing on a Whoop or throwing on, you know, other wearables. So what are those conversations looking like as you're trying to get maybe not, you know, a B2B sports team, we're going to get on this all day, but to the average, you know, D2C model that you're envisioning full time, what does that buy-in look like? And what do those conversations look like for moving to, you know, this is not just, you know, something that you put on your wrist and take off your wrist, but this is actually a glucose monitor. What does that look like to you?
You nailed one of our biggest barriers of entry, and it is the sensor. It is proven to be pain-free. All that data has been done by Abbott, and they have all that on file. It is definitely still that moment of putting on your first sensor. People are intimidated. So we've really built out a lot of educational material, both on our website, in the app, and then we also have a podcast at this point where we really try to hold people's hands. We're happy to get on a phone call with anyone when they're trying to put on their first sensor, and we'll walk them through the process and try to make it as easy as possible. To then the next piece is, now they have it on, now what? What do we do with this data, this information? So we've actually leaned in the most around helping the everyday athlete. We believe anyone with a goal is an athlete. It's not just those gold medalists. And helping them start to understand the small, slow changes you can make in your decisions, be it food, move, or movement, and how you can start to optimize glucose around that. And by optimize, I mean basically stabilize. How can you sort of have the most level glucose throughout the day?
Thanks, Samantha, for your question. Marian and then John.
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation. So as a longtime triathlete, I know from personal experience that age groupers will pretty much do anything to get to that next level. And so I'm curious, I did actually try Abbott's, actually, no, I tried the Dexcom CGM just to see, and I realized you do need someone, you know, because I don't have diabetes, to help you kind of interpret the data. So can you kind of walk me through that process of how you would help an average athlete, consumer, to walk through that data, how to interpret it? And I would think that you need some type of a nutrition coach to kind of help you dial that all in, right? Especially if you're racing.
Correct. So, and we get athletes that have a whole team behind them, down to somebody who's just starting to train for their first 5K. So how do you build an app that addresses that wide audience? And how we see it is in-app guidance. And that's where we're putting a lot of our resources, is how can we start making more specific recommendations for you as an athlete? How can we use AI to get to know you? Where we know on a Tuesday, you go do this run, and we know where you perform the best based on, we get feedback in the app on your rate of perceived exertion and also your feel. And so then how can we start to model that and make suggestions? We have some fun app updates coming out this quarter that'll have a daily summary that'll start telling you, okay, based on yesterday's behavior and your sleep, here's where you would line up today if you want to go do a run or a ride, whatever it is your training is. Are you already in the right place? Do you need to eat more? Maybe should you have eaten maybe a little less? And start to learn you as an athlete. Does that help answer that question?
It does. John, sorry, just one more quick question. Does it integrate with things like the Garmin? Because most triathletes will have a Garmin or some kind of a wearable to see the data on a daily basis of their training.
That's where we actually see the most aha from an athlete is that real-time visibility on a Garmin, a Wahoo, Apple
Okay.
Health. So we do have those integrations, and there are definitely competitors in this space. And that's one of the unique aspects of us is we came from sports. We luckily already had a lot of those relationships with those companies. So we've been able to make those integrations fairly seamless. And additionally, some of the integrations we have, you don't even need your phone as the bridge. That you can just go out with you've got your sensor on and your device, your head unit on your bike computer, and it's getting the data, because we know not all athletes want to carry a phone with them. Those are kind of device by device based, how that works, but we hope to eventually get there with all of them.
Thank you.
John and then Sophia.
Kind of a quantified self dude here. Apple Watch Ultra, Smart Ring. Wasn't trying to finger anybody, but and a bunch of other things that I track. Super interesting. One thing, I went to your website. I got 3 pop-ups in 30 seconds. Journalists will do this. It's not a great experience. I would not recommend it. What is the cost?
So right now, I'll also let you know we're only available in Europe at the moment, 8 countries in Europe. It is 150 euros a month. That's the entry level. Then you can go into bulk sales and get cheaper price points. And what you get with that is 2 sensors, a protective over patch, the app, and then the data dashboard. The app is free at this point.
Gotcha. What I've found with a lot of quantified self stuff is that once you learn your body from the information that you're finding, you don't necessarily need the hardware anymore, because you kind of know what's happening and what the impacts are. Do you find that? And is that a retention problem?
So well, as much as we would love somebody to be on sensor, 24 sensors a year, 12 months, we know we did not build that as our business model. Because we work with athletes, we focused on what's that training block, be it a 3-month window to a 6-month window where somebody would stay on it. But additionally, we have those great biohackers. We are tasking ourselves to make the app more valuable when you're not on sensor. There are things like the digital twin that can start now predicting as long as you're tracking other metrics, we can start to see what your glucose might be. And so therefore, if you only are wearing a sensor once a quarter as a check-in, it'll still drive value.
Okay.
Sophia, if you want to go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. With so much data available, right, to the average consumer or athlete, as you mentioned, there's the risk and the chance that they could also, if someone has eating disorders or, issues with exercising way too much, more than they should, is there any safety net for that? Or is there any way that you guys can, I don't know, maybe have an initial questionnaire so you can see if someone is actually, they can actually be eligible to actually have the app and the sensor?
So we have content on our blog that does address eating disorders. We actually see with a lot of our athletes coming in of endurance athletes, about 75 to 80% are under fueling. And by finally having real-time feedback, we've actually been able to empower a lot of athletes to start eating more, because the athlete nobody wants to have an eating disorder. It's figuring out what are the metrics, how do you get over it? How do you feel confident to eat again? How are you starting to see the impact of not fueling properly into your performance? It means you can't go out you're not going to feel good on that next run. So how can we help you feel more confident to eat, to then fuel your body to go do whatever it is your day holds? So we've actually been able to help quite a few athletes, both male and female, be able to get through that eating disorder. But yes, it is a risk. Because some people will always get obsessed with metrics, and how can you make it as small as possible? And we have some content and do try to address that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Fitzalan, really interesting work that you guys are doing. Thank you very much for the presentation and for sticking around with us.
Of course.
No, thank you. We will take 30 seconds now or so to finalize the judges' scorecard. Judges, if you could go in there and make your final decisions, and then we'll go ahead and announce the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place winners for today. Before we do that, and while the judges are tabulating the final scores, wanted to open up if any of the founders or any of the attendees have any specific questions for the media panel. Again, we have a number of journalists here with deep experience, and they're happy to kind of share their experiences when it comes to getting pitched by different companies, etc. So if you have any specific questions, or if you're thinking about maybe, hey, is it the right time to contact the media? This is a good time to do it. So I'm not sure, Fitzalan, I mean, you seem very, very far along. I'm wondering, what your guys' relationship has been with the media, etc., or if you have a question in particular.
Sure, I have both questions. I can, we're not to our Series A, but we've run through a few rounds at this point. I think we've done quite well in both endemic and non-endemic media spaces. We came in with good relationships, so that's nice. We already had a professional sports team on the back end, so we had worked with a lot of sports journalists. My question would be maybe twofold. One is, we went hard on the product first when we started to pitch journalists on the system. And I actually am feeling we should change that design and make it more, what's the benefit to the everyday user first is the hook, and then show here's how you use this system to fix it or address it. And then the second piece is, we've got all these great pro athletes, but I think that gets lost after a while, because if we want to sell things, you want to know how the everyday 42-year-old mom who's juggling 2 kids actually uses this. So how much should we step away from those pro athletes and lean into the everyday user?
Does anybody want to take that one on first? I'm not sure, Samantha or John.
Oh, I can hop in, and I think your inclination there is totally right, because, pro athletes are cool and their stories are cool. And I think occasionally maybe there's let's focus on, when I would think about a story about like a pro athlete and what they're doing for their health, I want to learn about like all 15 really awesome targeted things that they're doing for their health from the minute they wake up to go to bed, which, your startup might be one of those things. But I think, how can you take that, application that's being used by all of these pro people, and maybe it's a mention, but how is that really helping somebody who, whether it's deciding to share that they've overcome an eating disorder, or they moved up from being, an age grouper to being really, really competitive, overall in a triathlon or in a marathon or something. I think that's, especially if that's where your business model is going as well, wanting to be, talking to the direct to consumer. I think it's a great data point that you have the buy-in from pro athletes, but I think the story really lies in kind of the average person who would want to buy the product.
Perfect. That's what I was feeling also. Getting the experts like you to help me turn that back to our company and help build that out is really useful. So thank you.
I was a couch potato and I beat the Kenyans at long distance in the Olympics. Maybe not.
It sounds like it would sell to me. Kitsalan, thank you for that. That was a good question as well. Really quickly, we're waiting for just one judge. Marion, I don't want to call you out, Marion. If we can get your final score, that'd be awesome. And we do have a question also from Jose, really quickly while we wait. What elements do good media hooks have in common? I'm worried about losing authenticity when trying too hard to cater to whatever the current zeitgeist is. So, I mean, John and Marion, you might see this maybe when there's a certain trend that's going on in technology or in healthcare at the moment, and somebody tries to position themselves kind of within that trend. Do you have any specific feedback for that, or likes or dislikes about when that happens?
I was paying half attention when you asked that, but I think I got the gist. It is somewhat annoying as a journalist. Oh, by the way, X is happening. My client does blah, blah, blah around X. So all the pitch is about Chat GPT and what I do right now. They're flooding my inbox. It can be relevant and it can work, but it can get annoying. I hope that wasn't totally off topic, but maybe it won't.
No,
sorry, I just put something in the chat.
Oh, thank you, Marion.
I hope this is helpful because I filled it out. But
You're all good. Thank you.
So I I agree with John. One of the things also is when I get repeated emails about the same issue, constantly asking me, did you see my last email? I'm just following up. We have a lot of news that comes in on a daily basis, and we can't possibly follow up on everything. It's not like necessarily we're not interested. It's just that, we get a lot of emails, and unfortunately we have a small staff and kind of have to decide, which stories we can pursue and which stories we can't pursue. So it's not personal, and it doesn't mean that we won't follow up at a later time, but it's not helpful to get the same email repeatedly, day by day or week by week.
Great piece of advice, Marian, for sure. All right, guys. Well, I know we have a few people that have to hop off right at the top, so we'll go ahead and we'll announce the winners. We are humbly a little low budget on the Connect event, so I would ask everybody if you want to unmute, and we can give a round of applause for the third, second, and first place winners. And when I call your name, if you'd like to come on screen and just say a couple words too for the winners, we'd love to have that. So to start us off, in third place, we have Fitzallen with Super Sapiens. Fitzallen, great presentation again, and really cool company.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's also tough going against plenty of these people are changing the world in a very different way than sports. And so I really greatly valued hearing all the awesome things that everyone else on this panel is doing to actually improve the world. So thank you. It was good to be in company with everyone.
Awesome. I agree. I was really blown away by everybody's presentation. So congrats to you as well, Fitzallen, and thanks again for being with us.
Of course.
All right. Our second place winner, she actually had to hop off for a meeting, so she's not with us, but we'll give her a round of applause in her absence. We have Ellen from Well Theory. So congratulations to Ellen, wherever she may be. All right. And the first place winner, who it really blew us away. I want to say congratulations to Rima from Kintsugi. Rima, great presentation.
Oh, wow. Okay, I did not expect that at all. I'm just truly honored to be talking about the work that we're doing. And regardless of winning or losing pitches, I see that certain problems that we personally experience can inspire us to do interesting things. And it's always nice to learn that it's not just a personal problem, but the problem that resonates with the wider audience. Thank you so much for organizing this event.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Rima, and you're a great example of making lemonade out of lemons. So congratulations on everything that you've built.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Well, I want to thank again all of our media judges, John, Samantha, Natasha, Marian, Maria, and Sophia, taking time out of your day. If anybody wants to connect with anybody down the road, we're happy to facilitate that. That's part of the kind of the Connect ethos. And we really hope that we can have everybody back for a future Connect event. And I also want to thank my colleague Salome. She put all of this together on the back end, which is a lot of work. So Salome, thank you so much. And thank you for everybody that stayed and listened. And we hope to see you again at the next Connect event. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, folks.